Throughout history, names carry deep significance, representing the very essence and inception of a being or thing. In the Bible, the name of Yahuwah, or God, holds immense weight, for it represents his true nature and divine authority. The importance of calling God by his true name is emphasized in the Old Testament, where Yahuwah declares that his name must not be replaced or altered. Understanding this importance of names and their original meanings is essential in grasping the depth of spiritual truth. The uncontainable nature of Yahusha. In Isaiah, Yahusha is depicted as the lion that cannot be contained, a reflection of divine power and truth that breaks the limits of human understanding and control. Yahusha's authority comes from his unique connection to Yahuwah, and his role in salvation is crucial. Just as a name defines the true nature of something, Yahusha embodies the full force of divine will and purpose. He is not a figure that can be molded or constrained by the systems of the world, just as the true name of Yahuwah cannot be redefined by human invention or tradition. Isaiah portrays Yahusha as a force that breaks down barriers and brings forth the truth of Yahuwah's kingdom. His existence challenges not only the religious norms of his time, but also the spiritual forces that have tried to obscure and mislead humanity. This mirrors the concept of emanation, where Yahusha, as the Word made flesh, represents the pure, unfiltered emanation of divine truth. Names, words, and the emanation of truth. The words we speak carry more than just meaning. They embody the spiritual force behind the concept they represent. In ancient Hebrew, words were not merely symbols, but carried the life force of the thing they described. For instance, the Hebrew name Yahuwah is not just a title for God, it is the manifestation of his eternal presence and creative power. In this way, the name Gadreel, mentioned in Enoch 69:6, takes on significant meaning. Gadreel is one of the fallen angels, associated with the role of deception and the introduction of sin into the world. His name embodies his true essence, a deceiver and destroyer of divine order. This stands in stark contrast to Yahusha, who represents the purity and holiness of Yahuwah. Understanding the role of words and names is crucial for grasping spiritual truths. Just as the words spoken by Yahuwah in Genesis brought forth creation, the name of Yahusha brings salvation and truth. To misuse or misunderstand a name is to distort the spiritual reality it represents. Therefore, the distortion of Yahuwah's name throughout history reflects a deeper spiritual rebellion against divine truth. The Romans, Satan, and the Nazis, forces of deception and control. Just as Gadreel represents deception, the Romans during Yahusha's time acted as instruments of Satan's rebellion. Their crucifixion of Yahusha was an attempt to suppress the divine truth he carried. However, the uncontainable nature of Yahusha's message persisted, symbolizing the emanation of divine will that cannot be silenced. The comparison between the Romans and the Nazis reveals how evil regimes throughout history have sought to dominate through war and deception. Both represent forces that deny the true names and authority of Yahuwah, attempting to replace them with false ideologies. The Nazis, like the Romans, symbolized the perversion of power and truth, embodying the destructive forces that Gadreel represents. In this context, we can understand how the East Gate, a symbol of divine entrance and new beginnings, becomes a battlefield where the forces of evil, like the Romans and Nazis, trap humanity in cycles of war and violence. These forces prevent access to true peace and salvation, keeping humanity stuck in a world dominated by false names and twisted ideologies. The incompatibility of the Trinity and the name of Yahuwah. The doctrine of the Trinity, which seeks to divide God into three separate persons, stands in opposition to the singular, unified nature of Yahuwah's name. Yahuwah is not part of the Elohim or any divine council, but is unique in his oneness. Throughout the Old Testament, Yahuwah emphasizes that he is one and that no other gods or beings share his divine nature. To assign Yahuwah to a multiplicity of persons is to distort his true name and being. This distortion mirrors the deception introduced by Gadreel, who sought to confuse and mislead humanity about the true nature of divine authority. The introduction of false doctrines like the Trinity can be seen as a continuation of this deception, obscuring the pure truth of Yahuwah's oneness. Yahusha, the lion who breaks the chains. Isaiah's depiction of Yahusha as a lion represents the unstoppable force of divine truth. Just as the lion is a symbol of kingship and power, Yahusha's role in salvation cannot be limited by human constructs or corrupted religious systems. His authority comes directly from Yahuwah, and his mission is to restore the original truth that has been lost through deception. Yahusha's role as the Word made flesh also highlights the power of words and names in the spiritual realm. His very existence is an emanation of Yahuwah's will, breaking through the lies and distortions introduced by Satan and his forces. As the lion, Yahusha not only overcomes the physical systems of power, but also the spiritual forces that have sought to enslave humanity. The importance of returning to the true name. In understanding the importance of names, it becomes clear that the restoration of Yahuwah's true name is essential for breaking free from the spiritual deception that has plagued humanity. The distortion of Yahuwah's name throughout history has allowed false doctrines and ideologies to take root, leading people away from the truth. Just as Yahusha's uncontainable nature breaks through the chains of oppression, the restoration of Yahuwah's name can bring humanity back into alignment with divine truth. The name carries the essence and authority of Yahuwah, and to call upon his true name is to connect with the original power of creation. In conclusion, the understanding of names and words as emanations of spiritual truth is central to grasping the deeper realities of both the Bible and the spiritual world. Yahusha, as the uncontainable lion, represents the unstoppable force of divine will, breaking through the deception introduced by Satan and his forces. The Romans, Nazis, and other oppressive systems throughout history are symbols of this deception, keeping humanity trapped in cycles of war and falsehood. However, the restoration of Yahuwah's true name offers a path to redemption and a return to the original truth of creation.